welcome to the Daily Ascent. I'm Molly Carmel, and this is the podcast I always wish existed. A bite sized, on the ground spiritual note that can shift your thinking and your outlook on life to help make us all a little bit more awake, alive, and ascending. So, today I want to talk about something I realized I could do, something that honestly changed how I think about my own capacity for change: hot yoga. I mean, it's about hot yoga, but it's of course about what happens when we decide to teach ourselves to love something instead of just accepting that we hate it. So I love yoga. I actually really love hot yoga. But 2 years ago, I had no idea that I loved hot yoga. In fact, I thought I hated hot yoga. I would have signed a document swearing it away. And my best friend Josh, who is an incredible, amazing human, who's also relentless in his pursuit to get what he wants, asked if I wanted to go to yoga with him and my other best friend, Lauren. And I was like, I don't like hot yoga. And when I tell you he was not having it in the very best way possible, he just started rattling the questions down. Why don't you like it? What don't you like about it? What could we do to get you to like it? Can I get you a towel? Do you want us to get you water? It's a family activity. Come on, let's try it. We can leave if you don't want. I mean, it was like, so my arm was twisted. Like it was twisted and I went. And I hated the class. Like I really hated it. It was so hot. I was thirsty. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I was so uncomfortable the entire time. After it, I was like so thirsty and I was hungry and it like messed with my sense of fullness. Everything about it felt terrible. Every single thing about it felt terrible. But, my best friends loved it. And I thought, well, that kind of sucks that I don't like this thing that we could all do together. Like Josh's little sales pitch kind of hit my heart. And then I had this other thought inside of me that was like, well, you can learn to do anything. And I think in many ways that's true. I've given up so many substances. I've learned to be someone who is a pretty religious meditator. Like, if I put my mind to something, I can really do it. And so I thought to myself, crazy as it sounds, what if I could teach myself to love hot yoga? Not tolerate it, not white knuckle my way through it, actually love it. And here's what I did. At the time, I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was January. And I got like yoga studios give these kind of cheap passes for an unlimited amount of time, or really like, so the yoga studio gave me a 2 week um unlimited pass to take as many yoga classes as I wanted at the local hot yoga studio. And here's what I did. I went every single day for 2 weeks, every single day without exception, whether I liked it, whether I didn't like it, whether I was thirsty, whether I was hydrated, whether I felt good, whether I felt terrible. I just showed up. And by the end of it, I was like, I do not hate hot yoga anymore. I wasn't in love with hot yoga, but I was not in hate with it either. And then as the years went on, wouldn't you know it, I actually started to love it. And now I can't get there fast enough. I get into that class like 20 minutes early to lay in that sauna. It's really one of my favorite practices in a lot of ways, not just for my body, for my mind, for my spirit. And so that brings me to today's pocket sage. And it's from a book. It's from Seth Godin's book, The Practice. Now, Seth Godin isn't a spiritual teacher in the traditional sense. He's a writer, he's an entrepreneur, and he teaches about creativity, marketing, but showing up for your work. And so in a way, this reading is actually very deeply spiritual. The practice is not the means to the output. The practice is the output. We don't practice to get good. We practice because that's what we do. The practice becomes our compass. It's not about the outcome. It's about the commitment to show up. Trust the process, do the work, show up. That's what matters. The practice is available to anyone who cares enough to show up and do the work, regardless of talent or outcome. Let me get that one for those of you in the back. It is good. The practice is not the means to the output. The practice is the output. We don't practice to get good. We practice because that's what we do. The practice becomes our compass. It's not about the outcome, it's about the commitment to show up. Trust the process, do the work, show up. That's what matters. The practice is available to anyone who cares enough to show up and do the work, regardless of talent or outcome. And, that really lands for me in the story because I wasn't going to yoga every day to get somewhere, like to get this like hot body or like to get a crow pose or whatever. Like I was just going to hot yoga every day because that was the work. The showing up was the point. And so our word of the day today is commitment. And commitment isn't about feeling motivated or inspired or ready. It's about deciding something matters enough that you're going to show up for it even when you don't feel like it. And commitment, honestly, is what's carried me into that hot yoga studio. Sorry, and commitment is what carried me into that hot yoga studio every single day for 2 weeks when I still hated it. And in many ways, commitment is what carried me through many different recoveries from eating disorders, from addictions. It's what carried me through a really, really rough ride when I started a meditation practice. Like, I didn't do all that because it wasn't about passion. It wasn't about excitement. It was just the decision that I was going to do this thing and see what happened. And so I think commitment is really the bridge between intention and transformation. It's what turns I want to change into I am changing. And for me, commitments taught me like you don't have to love something to commit to it. You don't just have to be willing to show up and let that relationship evolve. And that is easier said than done in this cut and run culture that we're in. Am I right? I don't know. I think you can teach yourself to love almost anything if you commit to showing up consistently without judgment. At least like safe things like hot yoga, or, healing from trauma, or addiction. And I want to say I didn't go into that studio trying to force myself to like it. I didn't go in with affirmations or positive thinking. I just went, I just brought my body and hoped that my mind would follow. And I let my nervous system adjust and I let my body learn and I let the experience become familiar instead of foreign. And somewhere in that repetition, something shifted. Change doesn't come from feeling ready. It doesn't. Change comes from showing up before you're ready and doing it anyway. And if I had waited until I loved hot yoga to go back, I never would have gone back. If I waited until it felt comfortable, I would have quit after day one. In like literally every fundamental important change that I've ever had in my life, right? So when you do that, when you show up consistently without judgment, without needing it to feel good, we start to rewire our brains and our bodies come along. Well, actually, sorry, let me say that one again. And when we do that, when we start to show up consistently without judgment, without needing it to feel good, our brains start to rewire and our bodies can start to adjust. And the thing that feels impossible starts to feel possible. The thing that we were positive we hated, were positive we couldn't do, starts to feel neutral. And sometimes, if you keep going, neutral becomes love. But you have to be willing to commit and show up in the hate. You have to be willing to show up in the discomfort. And you have to be willing to trust that commitment will carry you further than motivation ever can. So here's your question for the day. What's something you've written off as, I just don't like that? And what would it look like to commit to showing up for it consistently and see what changes? Right? So if there is something that you've been avoiding because you think you just don't like it, or there's something going on in your life that you know needs change, I want you to ask yourself, what if I committed to showing up for it anyway? Right? For the healing, for the yoga class, whatever it is. What if I let the relationship evolve instead of deciding that it's already over? You might surprise yourself. I know that I did, and I know that I have so many times. So I am right here with you, Ascenders, learning that commitment creates the space for love to grow. We rise together. Until next time.